Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the Tuesday, June 29th, 2021 Special Selectmen's Meeting. Try to finish up some of the work that we didn't get done at the last meeting. It ran kind of late. Hopefully we can coordinate agenda items so that it doesn't go so late, and hopefully we can try to limit some of the comments. Pertinent information, no repeating. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, no public comment. First on the agenda is the Town Administrator Search Committee appointments.
Mr. Chairman, if you please, this was a request that I initiated for the last agenda, and I'd like to speak on this request for a few minutes.
You would like to what?
Speak on the request for a few minutes.
Sure, go right ahead.
Thank you very much. So I requested this, and I did want the full board to be here, and I know that Selectman O'Neill is at work and cannot be here. So perhaps we can all keep in mind that we should operate as one, as a team, and that we should try to do what's best for the town. And to that end, I wanted to read to you from the Finance Director bylaw, because I was part of the committee that brought this forward, and we put into it what the search committee should consist of. And the Finance Director Search Committee would consist of 5 members appointed as follows. 1 representative from the Board of Assessors. I think we did that because they were separate from the Finance Department and elected. 1 representative from town government in general exclusive of the Board of Selectmen. 1 representative of the Finance Board. 1 representative from the Finance Director Executive Secretary Task Force. And 1 citizen of Groveland who shall not be a past or present employee or an appointed or elected official of the Groveland municipal government. So the reason that these types of members were chosen was to ensure that the people who were on the search committee had the right background and experience to share with each other what would be needed to ensure that our first financial director was a good choice and would be good for the town. And that indeed did happen. So when I look at the list here, I see that we have, fortunately, more than enough names to do a 5-member committee. I think that we could do a 7-member committee, a little bit large, but not too unwieldy. It means that a quorum would be 4 instead of 3. I do like to keep in the spirit of what we chose when we chose for the Financial Director Task Force, because it's important that you have the right experience and knowledge base on the search committee so that people that don't have that knowledge base can learn from other people on the committee who have it. And that way they can all help each other come up with a list of candidates that would be the best possible choices for the town. So to that end, I didn't know how the chairman had foreseen going around and deciding which names to choose, which names not to choose. I'm happy that people have volunteered, and I thank everybody on this list for volunteering. But I do feel that there are some choices that are clearly necessary for this task force. The representative from the Town Government Study Committee necessary, the representative from the Finance Board necessary, the citizen at large, Janet Nolan, should be on the list. You can write her in. I know she contacted me. She has a background in human resources and recruiting and is currently not serving on any town board or committee. And beyond that, I think we could have a healthy discussion, however the members choose to do this.
Comments, Jason?
Not at this time.
Dan?
My thinking is, it's important to me that the the committee be representative of residents of Groveland. I'm not sure which of these, I know some of them are and some aren't, but I'd like it noted whether or not they're town residents or not, taxpayers of the town. Unless I'm wrong, I don't know that anyone here is a business owner in town or owns a business. I stand corrected if,
Kathy Alessi.
which one?
Alessi,
She owns a business?
East Coast Excavating.
Okay, because it's important to me that businesses have an input. I think people know me and where I'm aligned politically on, there's a balance, I believe, in providing public service, but, there's a limit in a matter of degree to most things, and concerned about expansion of the bureaucracy. So a lot of the people here, they're involved in government, so I'm not going to prejudge anyone that they're biased for or against town government or taxing and spending, but I just like the board to be balanced between taxpayer citizens and people that might be considered professionals in the know and actually administering the functions of government. So if we were to choose all of these people, I think it would be heavily weighted in terms of people that work in the government, and there's pros and cons of that, but I, as a taxpayer, I'm cautious and guarded about it. And I think, and maybe, the search could continue, or we could open it up and add some business people later. I think we have the flexibility and the charge on the Board of Selectmen, and I don't know that, this is the short list and it couldn't be added to, but if somebody in business locally, wanted to be added to the list, I think the board could reserve the right to add some business members of the community. So those are my concerns. I don't, I know, I know half these people, and yeah, they're all concerned about the town, and I think they'd put the town's interests first. But I would like a balance, and it's just a balancing of the interest and just perspective. I think of things differently than, because I have my own business. I think of things differently. So that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments, Kathy?
Well, I wanted to just respond to the idea of getting input from townspeople. I totally 100% agree, but I feel that the search committee can do that. This was recently done in the town of Boxford, and the search committee put out general questions to the public as to what would you expect. In their case, they were replacing a 30-year veteran, so it was a very big change for them. So the questions were to the nature of, what do you expect from the new town administrator? What are you looking for as a citizen? I think these kind of questions can be put out there through a town website, and the input is gathered and taken into account and even summarized by the search committee. And I think that's a much better way to gain input than trying to overload the search committee. I think the search committee has to be focused on finding the qualifications, the personal attributes that we need as far as someone with the correct communication and interpersonal working skills, as well as educational experience background. That has to be the focus. And then I think, as an aside, they're in a very great position to take in public input. They could even open up a forum for people to come down and speak to them. But I think we have to get this thing rolling. I think time is of the essence. So perhaps each person would like to nominate someone, and we can discuss and determine if we can reach some agreement here.
Okay, you want to take them well, Jason, when we start, you can make a nomination of somebody on the list. What do we got? 9?
We have, with Janet Nolan, we have
9.
10. We have
Yeah.
10, Janet Nolan.
1, 2, 3. All right, there's one that I'm missing here.
Janet,
Nolan.
What is the first name? town resident?
Yes.
Okay. Jason, you want to make a nomination?
Sure, I'll start with Jeff Gillen.
I'll second that for
Okay.
discussion.
Nomination Jeff Gillen to be on the search committee. Any discussion? Jason, discussion? Support of Kathy?
Well, I like the idea of someone who's worked with 3 different financial directors is the only one on the list that has that longevity and experience working with the town, and I think that will be a huge benefit to the committee.
Dan?
I like Jeff Gillen. I was on the board years ago and decided to hire him, and that was a good decision. So he's rock solid, he's level-headed, he's a good listener. And I think we need people that listen as well as they talk. And I think he lives in Georgetown, but, you know, he's reasonable, so I like him.
Any further discussion? All in favor of Jeff Gillen on the committee? Unanimous, 4-0, absent. Kathy?
So many good choices.
Excuse me?
I said so many good choices. I guess I'm going to go ahead and nominate Janet Nolan, the citizen at large. She has a background, just so everyone knows, in human resources, in her regular employment, and in recruiting. So I think that knowledge base and being a citizen at large would be very valuable to the committee.
I'll second that.
Okay, nomination of Janet Nolan, and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Dan?
Yeah, I don't know her. I mean, what does she do? And she lived in town a long time. Can you expand
don't-
upon who she is and kind of what?
Actually, I can't, I don't know her that well, so that maybe should be a comfort. I'm not affiliated with her in any way. I know of her. I know she helped a little bit on the interim financial director search committee, and so I saw the name and I sought her out and asked her about her experience, and she works in human resources and recruitment as a professional, and I thought that kind of background would be very beneficial to the screening committee.
What is her background? I'm sorry.
She has human resources and recruitment.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought that would be a very beneficial citizen-at-large background to bring to the search committee. And she's not on any other town committee or board.
Any other comment?
Well, I like that. I mean, we all have our issues, and we all have agendas and things that we hold important. So the fact that she's not on any other committees, she's might not necessarily be promoting certain agenda items. But it's okay. Everyone can pull in any direction they want. But I think it's the diversity of thought that I'm looking for, and not just
Well, if it helps your thought process at all, when I asked her about,
I like independent thinkers, despite what they think on
Correct.
either side of the spectrum. I like debate and exploring ideas.
I asked her, like, well, how many candidates do you think a group like you should forward? I said 2 or 3. She said, no, we have 5, we should forward 5 to you. So I like the idea that she's open to giving us a wide array of choices.
5 candidates.
Yeah, I mean, if that happened.
Yeah, no, I like that too. I mean, I don't
I
want to
did
be,
as
I don't want to narrow it to these are the 2, take it or leave it. I mean, I'd like to look at 5 and, I don't know, jumping ahead, but at some point, interview. My biggest thing is I want to know what people's philosophy is on whether or not they're for expansion of services. I mean, there's limitations on government, but some people want more, some people want less. So you want to pay less taxes, you get less services. So if somebody comes in here and they're for expansion of services, well, that comes with a price. So I like to know, what people have for a philosophy on what should be the limitations on town government, and people in government, I don't know if they're for expansion, I don't know, but that's why I want a balance on the taxpayer side, and hopefully she's open-minded to that.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? I don't know the woman. I'll abstain, that I don't know anything about her, I don't know where she lives. But all in favor of Janet Nolan? Two in favor, opposed?
I'm gonna abstain too. I don't, is it too late to discuss anything further?
I guess if we're going to do this, we should just table this till we have the full board, because we could spend a lot of time here just sitting here meandering around. We're trying to pick a search committee, not a town
Okay,
administrator.
there's a motion and a second, you abstain?
I'll abstain, but follow up, Mr. Chair.
So
Excuse me?
does it
Follow
pass?
up with you to a
Yeah,
question.
sure.
Does it pass?
I don't, on this board, I don't know who knows who. Some of these people I already know, okay? The people that I don't know, I think it's an important decision. Is it possible on the I don't know people to have them come in and just talk to us? You know, I mean, to appoint people I don't know, it's kind of like flying blind, so I just, you know, I can tell you the people I know and they already, you know, they've already won me over. I know who they are. They have a track record. It's the people that don't have a track record. If they could come in for a couple of minutes, just tell us what they want and what they want to accomplish and why they want to serve, I think that'd be appreciated. So, I mean, it's not intentional that I want to do this piecemeal, but I don't think it's the right way to proceed if we don't talk to these people.
So,
Well, that's valid, but perhaps we could ask her to come in at the Tuesday meeting and introduce
you
herself.
know,
I think-
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion to table this. If this is how we're going to go with what Selectman McDonald knows
Ok.
or doesn't know, I mean, we're here to pick a search committee.
Okay, well, there's a motion.
Nobody asked-
Kathy, with all due respect, motion to table is not debatable.
Fine.
Is there a second on a motion to table? No, motion fails. Okay, so there was two in favor and two abstentions for Janet Nolan. It fails. There's no reason why a person can't be added afterwards. But what I failed to ask in the beginning is, are we looking for 5 members or are we looking for 7 members? Jason, comments?
I think we see how many we agree on, and then we can make that determination.
Okay, Dan, comment?
I agree with Jason on that. I don't have a problem with 7 or 9 even. I think it's just the representation, and I'd rather have it be broad than narrow. And I agree with you that, I mean, this doesn't have to be the end-all here. We can add to the board later. We can supplement.
Kathy, comment?
On the size of the committee, is that what you're asking me?
No, I was asking about 5 or 7 members.
Okay, I think it has to be capped at 7. I think when you get higher than that, the calling of a meeting becomes unwieldy. So I want to give them a number they can work with.
Do we want to vote on 5 or 7? We're looking for a motion?
No, I won't make a motion at this time.
You're not going to make a motion?
Nope.
Okay. Dan, do you have a recommendation for somebody?
I mean, if I get a choice of 7, I'll go with 7, but I think we wait and see how many we get. If we get to 7 and, you know, like I said, I mean, if we could get 9 people and there's diversity on there, then I'll be happy with the outcome.
Well, the people on the list, do you have a nomination?
Yeah, I like Greg LeBrecq, rock-solid financial guy. I've known him. I've discussed issues with him. I like the way he thinks. I like the way he analyzes things. He certainly has a resume. He was here before, and he's over at the school district. I think he weighs benefits and burdens of the budget and the process and the taxpayers and what you can get for your money. So I think he's a no-brainer in my mind.
Okay, do you want to put that in the form of a motion?
I nominate Greg LeBrecq for the committee.
Is there a second on Greg LeBrecq? I'll second that. And one other thing that I think you missed on him, he's a Groveland resident. Groveland resident, level-headed, Greg
Okay.
LeBrec.
I didn't know where he lived, actually. Thought he lived in Merrimack, I'm wrong.
No, he lives in Groveland.
Okay.
Sounds to me like a solid choice to me, too. Jason, any comments?
Yeah, I did particularly care for his point of views at the town meeting, but, yeah, I just was a little put off by him.
Okay.
So,
Kathy, comments?
I've known Greg for a long time, and I have a high degree of respect for him, but I was surprised at his comments at the town meeting, and I am concerned about a point of view as far as trying to find the right person for this position, so, yeah.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor of Greg LeBrec? 3 opposed? Abstention?
Yes.
3 in favor, 1 abstention. I guess I'm next. I'll nominate Bob Valentine, the fire chief, solid candidate, lives in Groveland, level-headed, pretty sharp. I think he would be an asset, and he wouldn't fall under the jurisdiction of the town administrator. That's a good thing. Now, I'd like to nominate the Fire Chief Bob Valentine. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Dan,
Yes. Oh.
Fire Chief?
You know, I don't know him personally or professionally, but, you know, I'll, you know, give weight to what you said, and certainly the fire department in town is on call, and they do a great job, and, you know, I'll give him a shot at it, sure.
Kathy?
I guess my concern is that he is in still his probationary period, has not finished that, and that if there were any difficulties with that or other personnel issues that could come through, the town administrator would have to be involved in that. And I guess I'm just thinking a probationary period employee, no. I have a lot of respect for him, but
He's
he is not, we still have yet to meet with him to review the probationary requirements of his contract, and we haven't done that yet.
We did meet with him.
No,
We
but
meet
it's
with-
not-
We met with him in executive session, and
Correct.
he had met the requirements.
No, he had not.
I have the floor.
Well, he didn't.
Stop interrupting. He met the requirements. Because he met the requirements, he was given a raise, and I don't remember what that was. But he was given a raise because he met the requirements that we had set, the parameters that he had to meet at a certain length of time. So his probation is over. He's been here way over a year, probably 8, Catherine, you know, maybe 18 months?
Yes, probably at least.
Probably 18 months. His probation, it's a year probation.
What I'm speaking.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, what I'm speaking to are the requirements of the contract. We had several steps in there, and as you recall, with the advent of the pandemic, we gave him additional time. And so I wanted to meet back with him to see where he was on completing those additional steps. Because I want to make sure that he has the time to do that, because that's part of what we asked him to do as part of his hiring.
Okay, a follow-up, Jason?
No, I like Chief Valentine.
Dan, follow-up?
I like the chief. I understand. I mean, to me, it's kind of not an issue until it's an issue. If there was an issue, I think we could address it at a particular time. I'm not saying that the probationary period will work out or it won't, but you know, it's green light until it's not. So, I mean, you can always change gears, so I'm gonna go with it.
Okay, any further discussion? We'll call for a vote. All in favor of Bob Valentine on the Town Administrative Search Committee? All in favor? 3 opposed, and 1 opposed. 3 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 absent. All right, we started with you before, Jason. Kathy,
Oh, did you,
another nomination?
who nominated Valentine? That was you, right?
Who never nominated who?
Valentine, that was you, right?
I did.
So isn't it Jason's turn now?
He's
Yeah,
gonna
well,
skip me and stay with you.
I-
We're gonna change it up this
We're
time.
gonna change it
Oh,
up.
we're jumping around. Okay, I was confused by that. Thanks for the explanation.
No
Um,
worries.
How about Ruth Rivard?
Okay, you put that in the form of a motion?
Move Ruth Rivard as a representative of the Financial Board on the search committee.
Okay,
Second that.
nomination, is there a second? Jason, would you
I'll
second?
second it.
All right, back to you, Kathy. Comments? Motion and a second.
Oh,
Discussion, back
Well,
to you.
obviously, I think a representative from our Financial Board, because the Finance Board represents the taxpayers of this town. And I think this is a key position in the town and will help direct the finances of the town as well as administrate the town. So it makes perfect sense to have a representative from the Finance Board.
Jason?
I know I don't necessarily share Ruth's views on a few different things, but she definitely keeps things tight in terms of money for the taxpayers. So that's something I'm sure even Dan could appreciate.
Dan, comments?
What can I appreciate? I know Ruth, personally, I like her, but politically, I think I'm on the far end of the spectrum from her view on government. You know, I've said before, I came late to the party being elected at early May, but I wasn't part of the last year's budgetary process, and I'm not a big fan of the omnibus. So I think we need to change the direction in this town. It's not personal, Ruth, but I'm looking for a different direction politically, financially, and just the big picture, so.
Thank you. Well, to use Jason's words, Kathy's words, I didn't like her comments at the town meeting. I thought it was way over the top. I can't support that candidacy. I'll vote no on Ruth Rivard. I think we need to move in a different direction. If we need somebody on the finance board, we'll ask for a different nomination. Anybody, any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do have a comment.
Go ahead.
So, Selectman McDonald didn't know Janet Nolan, so he couldn't vote for her. Admitted he didn't know Robert Valentine, but because you vouched for him, he voted for him. Ruth Rivard is being held as a person who hasn't provided proper comments at a town meeting, so we're not having a representative for the Finance Board. We scheduled a meeting in the middle of the day, and I'm trying to be cooperative with this. I
Okay, we're
see,
on Ruth
I'm not
Rivard.
done yet. So we have Mr. McDonald, we've scheduled around him so that he can go to his baseball game, but Mr. O'Neill, who is at work, or whatever it is, so you can go to that game. We scheduled around that. We didn't schedule around Mr. O'Neill. Every person that I suggest that you don't know, you're shooting down, and I'm at the point where I'm about to say that this is obviously a stacked deal. Who is it you all want on this, and why? What point of view don't you want to hear from people that don't agree with you, or is it all about your point of view? Ruth Rivard worked diligently for this town meeting, and everybody on this board knows that. And to say that this person is not qualified to be on a search committee for a town administrator is just absurd.
Okay, any other comments?
Yes. I'm not saying anyone's not qualified. A lot of what I do here is opinion. Tax and spend or not tax and spend. A lot of what I do sitting here has to do with ideology and government. And if you don't believe that, look at your tax bill. If you don't believe that, look at your trash pickup, okay? How you think, what your philosophy is on government matters. Elections have consequences. And I've been guarded in watching my tone, but I'm careful that if you populate with every board in this town with lefty liberals, you're gonna get lefty liberal results. And I make no secret about it where I stand politically. I am conservative. I believe in limitations in government respect the people that work in this town, okay? But I do not want every accessory known to mankind, and I don't want to pay for it. So it matters to me how people think. I'm not saying she's not qualified, but they're qualified to do what? Okay? Qualified to spend money the way I would spend money, or the people that wanted me to sit here and wrote me in on the last election. I listened to people. I got all kinds of advisors. I got a lot of, the birdie chirping in my ear as to what's right and wrong in this town, and I think, and I go with my gut on it, that we're gonna go in a different direction. So, if that's personal, then you can make it personal. But, we just went through a national election and everything's personal now, okay? But I have a philosophy on government, and I stick to my guns, and I'm
Okay.
sticking with it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, I feel that when you start holding out our volunteers, people that don't receive any payment, who just volunteer because they care about this town, and you start making comments about lefty liberal and the last election. No, I'm not done. I'm finishing my sentence. He's had more than enough time on the floor. So we are trying to put together a search committee with a wide range of viewpoints, not one viewpoint. I want a wide range of viewpoints on this search committee so I can get input from a lot of different types of people. And I'm not trying to pick people who agree with Kathy Castronellis all the time to be on this committee. That's not my goal. But I'm hearing from Selectman McDonald that is exactly the goal. And I'm very concerned that this meeting was set in the middle of the day on purpose so that Selectman O'Neill could not be here. It sure looks that way.
Well, thank you. Any other comments? No. All in favor of Ruth Rivard to the Town Administrator Search Committee? All in favor? 2, oppose? 2, 2, failed. Back to me. Sarah Hunter, the treasurer collector, I'd like to nominate her. She's helped us out tremendously. We met with her, was it 2 weeks ago? We met with her. She was fantastic. I think she'd make a tremendous town administrator at some point in her career, but she seems to get along with everybody here in the town hall. I think she would be an asset. So I would like to nominate Sarah Hunter to the search committee. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Yeah, there's a second. A motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, Sarah Hunter is a hired, procured contractor that we pay $125 an hour. She is not a resident of the town. She does not serve on a board in the town, and she certainly does not belong on this search committee. And that is a complete ethics conflict, because this position will replace her. So the sooner we fill this position, the sooner we don't need the consultant. In addition, there could be a vested interest in her knowing people in the network that might possibly throw business her way. And I'm not criticizing Sarah. I feel that we hired her for a certain task, and that task is getting accomplished. But there is no way that we should be hiring or paying anybody to travel to this search committee, and there's no way that the hired contracted consultant who is filling the gap until this position is filled should be on this committee at all. That's a complete ethics violation.
Thank you. Jason, comment?
No.
Dan?
Point of clarity with Selectman Castronellis. You said there's a conflict because this committee would replace her position. I thought there's a separate treasurer position that's being advertised, so this is for town administrator. Can you clarify that for me?
Yes, the town administrator, once we hire a town administrator, our need for her services may not exist anymore, because the town administrator is also going to be in charge of the financial management of the town. So this is not something that should be happening at all.
Mr. Chair, if I could have a dialogue with her on this.
Go ahead.
Kathy, to my knowledge, we voted to post the treasurer position. Is that correct? So, I mean, if that position's filled first, that has nothing to do with her, right? I mean, it's possible that the treasurer position gets filled, and we have a resume here
She's a
tonight, right?
hired, contracted consultant. She's hired. We pay her to travel here. We pay her $125 an hour. I'm not paying for her to be here on a search committee, first of all. That, I'm not doing
Well,
that.
that's an issue. I mean, would
Yeah,
she
and I think
volunteer
that-
for this committee, or
And
would
you
it be
talked
hours?
about people who didn't live in town not being all right for this committee, and all of a sudden, somebody who lives 2 hours away from this town and is here for a short-term
I
assignment.
haven't voted yet, Kathy.
I know, I'm just saying, this
I
is
haven't voted
just.
yet. Don't
Okay,
prejudge
well,
me.
to me, this is a turning point in the whole
Let
vote.
her finish then.
Okay.
I'm done. I've made my point. This is an ethics violation.
Well, I don't know where where it came up that she was 4 hours away. I don't believe she's.
2 hours.
2 hours.
Yep, we've seen
And
the travel.
And who said that her time on the search committee is gonna be at $125 an hour? None of these people are getting paid. So, I think that was a little over the top.
I would like to see a letter from her stating her interest in this committee, her desire to travel for free to the town, to not work it into the time when she's here being paid to travel here, and to be here for the hours of the search committee on days other than Wednesdays, free of charge to the town. I'd like to see that in writing.
Well, it would also, we have the availability of remote meetings, that if she's a couple hours away, she could participate remotely to the meeting. That was my comment. Jason, anything else?
No.
Dan?
I see a potential conflict. I would like to defer this one if possible, and this is someone that, again, I would want to, a couple minutes of their time to see, and again, Kathy, I wholeheartedly would like some input from taxpayers and residents, I do. I listened to her, right, as a potential. Maybe she's the most independent one in the whole list. But I could see potential conflict if you're the decision maker on your own hours and your own job and your own pay, then yeah, there's a crossover there. And if that's the absolute case, then I would agree with you, Kathy. But I think, Mr. Chair, that if again, that's why haste makes waste. I don't want to rush this, and when I leave, Bill can chime in. You want to vote on a few more? I don't have a problem with votes in my absence, but I just think we defer on that and have her in here to say a few words in her own defense. We're talking about people that aren't here.
Okay, you want to make a motion to table that? Do we get more information?
I'll make a motion to table it.
Is there a second? No second.
I'm just so done with this.
Okay, we'll call for a vote. Sarah Hunter, all in favor of her on the search committee? All opposed? 2
One
abstain?
abstention. Yeah.
It fails. 1 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 abstention, 1 absent. Let's see, Dan, you got another recommendation?
I mean, Elizabeth Cuniff is an elected person, so she's insulated in many ways from, speaking her mind. She works in town hall, and I think she has the ear of a lot of people, so I nominate Elizabeth Cuniff.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
And there's a second. Any further discussion? Dan, you made the motion, comments?
No, it says it all. I made the motion. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, Jason, comment? No. Kathy?
Nope.
None. I think it's an excellent choice. She's here every day. Now, any further comments, we'll call for a vote. Motion for Elizabeth Cuniff, the town clerk, to the search committee. All in favor? Unanimous, one abstention, one absent. Jason, back to you.
Have we nominated Catherine Elise yet?
No,
COA?
no.
I'll go ahead and nominate Catherine Elise.
Second.
Motion for Catherine Elise and a second. Any discussion? Kathy?
No?
Jason?
No.
Dan? Nope, I don't either. We'll call for a vote. Any other questions, comments? No? All in favor of Catherine Elise, the COA Board Chairman? All in favor? Unanimous, one absent. Dan, you got another one, another recommendation?
I don't. I'd like to, scour the town and get some business people on here, but I don't have any right now.
Jason, back to you. For a nomination.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Rebecca Oldham.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion for Rebecca Alderman, and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
One of the biggest reasons why I nominate Rebecca is because she has the ear of all the business people here in Groveland, because of the Elm Square Committee that she runs and operates. So she's extremely close to all the businesses in Elm Square, and she's also reached out to all the other businesses in Groveland because she continues to get them more and more involved in what's happening in Groveland. So from a business aspect, I think it would be prudent to have her on the board. Not to mention that everything she does, she keeps in mind of what the residents typically want. So she's very open-minded, and it's not about necessarily what she thinks is best, it's what the residents want. So I think she'd be a great addition to the committee.
Okay, any other comments? Kathy?
I agree with Jason wholeheartedly. I think she'd be an excellent choice for this committee.
Dan?
I'd like to have her in and talk to her.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you'd like to what?
Have her in and talk to her. Just, again, it's just, she's on, anybody who knows me years ago, I was reluctant to go along with the town planner, just because of expansion. And that job became ultimately a full-time job, and it morphed into economic development and something else. So, just what's the role of government? I mean, I don't know Rebecca, or I haven't worked with her. I just, not that I want to, cross-examine anyone, as Kathy's alluded to in the past, but I just want more information. People heard me. I don't want to beat the dead horse and exhume it and beat it some more, but I'm worried about the bureaucracy and the expansion of the bureaucracy. So we have increased payroll and positions, so I just, I'm going to abstain on her.
Okay. Any other comments? None. All in favor of Rebecca Alderman to the Town Administrative Search Committee? All in favor? 3 in favor, 1 abstention. That's 6. We got one more on the list. Kathy, do you want to make a nomination, or do you want to hold it to,
Well, why don't you nominate him?
what's that?
Why don't you nominate him? Joe.
Why don't I?
Yeah, you haven't nominated anybody for a while.
Yeah, I did. I nominated 2 people. There's one more on the list. You want to hold off to, you want to make the nomination and
I'll
discussion?
nominate Joe Demore to the committee. His board recommended him.
Okay,
He sent a letter in with a resume.
there's a
one notice.
nomination. Is there a second on Joe Demore to the Town Administrative Search Committee?
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Kathy, you made the nomination.
Yeah, I did.
Go ahead. Comment.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel that I don't really need to discuss. He supplied a letter, he supplied a resume, he's worked on this task group that started before the pandemic. I know that, were both of you opposed to this position? I'm not sure whether both of you were. I know you spoke against this position at town meeting, so perhaps you were opposed to the committee as well, but I feel that Joe has earned his place on this search committee and that he should be placed on it. It's just only fair.
Jason, comments?
I like Joe. He's a great guy. He really is. When he gave us a job description, I was in shock and awe at what he expected this one person to do. But I think in terms of having a bit of variety on the search committee, I think it's important to have him on there.
Dan?
Joe's not here, but Joe and I have had extensive, lengthy dialogues over the years, and I've expressed, pros and cons about it. And it's not just, political ideology, but actions. He was on school committee, he voted for school choice. That cost the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars, in my opinion. You get $5,000 a kid, it costs $14,000 approximately to educate somebody, so we're subsidizing Hebrew kids. At the high, we had 140, I think, students from out of town.
I feel that we're off topic, Mr.
So,
Chairman.
no, but I'm basing it. So Kathy asked me if I against him or against the board. You know what? In terms of timing, yes, I'm against town administrator. I lost that at town meeting, so I move on, okay? So now I gotta make lemonade out of lemons. I'll make the best of it. People elected me to do a job here, so I've said it before. I'll say it again. We gotta get this right. We get this wrong, and we got a disaster. So I'd like to, hope for the best, plan for the worst. Hope Joe comes on there and he's a conservative, all right? That's all. I'll go along with Joe on that, but it's an asterisk on there, and I have no problem. I'm not talking behind his back. Joe will tell you that.
Okay. Any other comments? None. All in favor of Joe Demore to the Town Administrator Search Committee? All in favor? 3, 4, unanimous, one absent. Okay, that's 7. Doesn't preclude us from adding somebody in the future.
So, Mr. Chairman, so my question is for Janet Nolan, if I were to ask her to come to the next meeting and speak to this board for a few minutes, you would, I told her she didn't need to come in because no one else was, but obviously she did need to come in. No one on this list, I don't think, was notified that people should come in and be ready to answer questions, so.
No, they weren't.
Right.
Not to my knowledge.
So, if I were to invite Janet to come down and speak at the open speaking time so she wouldn't have to wait around, would this board be open to hearing from her? I think that she's a person from the town, she was interested in this, has a very good background that would be helpful to the committee. I hate to turn my back on volunteers.
Okay.
So can she
We can
come in or
always,
not?
we can always choose to add somebody or two of them in the future.
So she can come into our meeting at
Um,
the beginning and speak to this committee, if she chooses to.
Sure. We can schedule that, put that on the agenda for Tuesday
But-
meeting.
I'm asking for it to kind of be at the beginning, because I don't want anybody to have to sit there while we do.
Put that on the agenda for the next meeting, Catherine, please.
They're in public.
Excuse me?
Yes, during public speaking.
What's that?
Do I need to invite her, or will?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure,
I'll
yeah,
get her number.
might be a nice idea.
Yep.
Okay. Takes care of that. Roll call into executive session. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 3, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation to conduct collective bargaining sessions for the water and sewer union contracts. We'll take a roll call into executive session. Dan?
Yeah, in favor.
Jason?
Yes.
Kathy?
This is just for water and sewer, is that correct?
Yes, and then we'll move on to the other two.
Well, that's what I'm asking, because to my knowledge, we do not have a contracted council on aging director, so it would not fall under this. So I want to make sure we're going into executive session on the water and sewer contract only at this time.
We're doing water and sewer.
Okay, yes.
Okay, Kathy, yes. Myself, yes. Okay, Chris, we're gonna into executive session.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Now, we'll be back.
For what the CEO asked for, I can print it out if you want to bring that up in the discussion.
You're live.
Okay, after. Welcome back, everybody. We had an executive session to deal with some contracts. We're back into open session. Discussion and possible vote, incoming COA Director's Employee Agreement. I think we probably should hold that until till Tuesday meeting. Anybody in agreement with that? Table that till then?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to table and a second. Thank you, Jason. All in favor of tabling? Unanimous. Rebecca, thank you for coming in. You're here for the ARPA funds discussion.
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Rob, can you identify yourself?
Rebecca
For the
Oldham.
50,000 people that are watching you. Now, don't be nervous.
Never. Rebecca Oldham, Director of Economic Development, Planning, and Conservation. So I am here, as the chair correctly stated, to discuss the American Rescue Act. So as you're all aware, there are federal funds that are being filtered through to the state and local municipalities for use of recovery from the pandemic. And after some of the initial information that has been released, Groveland, for a direct allocation, will receive $716,875. Then there's also another allocation that's going to come through the Essex County. We've abolished county government, so the actual semantics of how that is actually going to be received is a little unknown right now, but that amount is $1.3 million. So for a total allocation coming to Groveland, we're looking at about $2 million. As part of that effort, the planning and development meetings that I've been holding monthly with the other department heads discussing some of the grants and some of the other things that are happening in town, we kind of tried to take a look and see whether or not there were any projects that we should pursue and or that could be taken advantage of based upon the eligible expense categories. And in the grand scheme of things, $2 million is not really a lot of money when you're talking about an infrastructure project, but we thought we'd be proactive and just put the bug in the Board of Selectmen's ear and give you a list of projects to take into consideration. So as part of that, I just wanted to, introduce to you the fact that these funds are being made available. I've been working very closely with Ellen, the town accountant, trying to make sure that we get these funds and make sure that we can utilize these funds. She has made the initial request for the first allotment, since there's 2 allotments of the direct allocation. Those have been received, so we now have, the total is $358,000, and we're able to spend those funds. So again, the point of me coming before you is just to give you a rundown of what is happening, and then also give you just briefly some of the projects that had come forward based upon the actual eligible expense categories. So one of them,
Just before you go into, I know there's going to be a lot more information, but you said it can be spent, so are we saying that, is it similar? Oh, I'm so sorry, yeah, I turned it on. Thank you. So, you said that this $358,000 that's come in at this point in time, is in our bank account or whatever, and we can spend it, and that is with what kind of provision? Does it require a town meeting, just a Board of Selectmen meeting? What does it require for approval before it can be spent?
So from my understanding, it's being distributed like a grant. So essentially, if you make a request to utilize the funds for an eligible expense, the Board of Selectmen would be eligible to vote on that and move that project forward.
So we would fill out some type of a application to use part of this money for that.
So we would need to show, so the initial application to receive the initial allocation has been submitted, which is just, yes, we want the funds. If you're gonna give us the funds, we would like the funds. And now the next part is to decide the projects, and then we have to justify those projects and make sure that they understand, or that they fall within those eligible expense categories, kind of like the CARES Act.
Yep.
So the CARES
Okay.
funding, you know, it was more, you know, you get the funds, and then you have to kind of justify after the fact, after you use them per the eligible expenses.
Okay, and is there any risk factor to us in, like with the CARES Act, it was always said, well, if you spend it and then it doesn't fit in, you could lose it. But we did pretty well. I mean, we did fine. So you anticipate this will be similar?
Yes, it's just going to be a very challenging, because some of the projects are more than we would be able to allocate, and what we're going to be receiving. So picking those projects and making those work, I think, is going to be more of the challenging aspect of things.
Okay, good.
So some of the projects that they have been discussing is, so as part of the eligible expense categories, we have the investments in water and sewer and broadband infrastructure, so pretty basic, pretty straightforward. So in talking with Colin and the water department, they had stated that there's a couple of projects that are ranging from 300 to 500,000 that they could in fact take advantage of, those being on Union and Chestnut and Lannon Ave, and then also on Balch Ave. And then there's also the potential for a much larger project, which is about $1 million, and that would be for a 12-inch water main on King Street from Gardner. So a much larger project. So if you would like to hear more about those and more of the details for those projects, we can bring in the water superintendent, and he can give you more details and a more detailed breakdown, and maybe even put together more of a detailed proposal if the board would like. The other one that came through was from the highway superintendent. He was looking for monies for Route 97, the School Street Phase 2 of the sidewalks. I'm not necessarily sure in my reading of the legislation that would be an eligible category. It is roadway infrastructure. It's not necessarily water and sewer. There's not much of an economic recovery associated with it. So I did ask Rennie if we could take a closer look as whether or not that would be an eligible project. Another project was the proposal for a small business resiliency program that I had put forward. And I was hoping that maybe we could take some of those monies, about $50,000 or so, and set it aside for businesses who have been affected by the pandemic, specifically allowing them to apply for up to $10,000 per business, and they would have to meet certain requirements. So if you make over $2 million in gross annual income, you wouldn't necessarily be eligible. But some of the smaller businesses, I know that during the pandemic, I had received inquiries from a couple of the small businesses as to whether or not Groveland was going to be helping any of the small businesses like some of the other communities, and unfortunately we just didn't, there was nothing that the community was offering at this time, so I did think that there could be a need for that. And then the other two came through from the Garden Club. The Garden Club would like to ask if some of the recovery funds could be used to replace their revenue. I guess their membership had fallen. So the chair over at the Garden Club could definitely come in and give you some more information as to the specific figures and the dollar figures that they had lost in comparison to some of the other years. And the last is from the fire chief, and that is for $550,000 for the replacement of Engine 3. And specifically, that would fall under the economic recovery aspect of things because of the fact that that ambulance also has basic life support services that can be provided and was heavily used during the pandemic and will continue to be heavily used if there's ever a resurgence or there's another pandemic or anything of that nature. So those are some of the initial projects. I'm sure there's more out there, but again, this was just something that we thought we would bring to your attention to let you know that the first batch has been received. We will get the second batch 12 months after. We're still waiting to hear about the Essex County allocation and how that will be distributed, but we have up until 2024 to expend these funds. So we just wanted to make sure that you were aware of this and answer any initial questions that you may have and get you any initial information that you would like.
Any questions for Rebecca? Dan?
Yeah, so we could, with $2 million, we could buy an engine for cash instead of a debt exclusion.
So that is actually an ineligible use of the funds.
Buy the engine?
Oh, yes, for instead of the debt exclusions are, but, so we could, yes,
If we need an engine, there's two options, right? Cash or debt, so that would be our opportunity to just buy it.
yes, because of its direct association with the pandemic.
And I think you answered my other question. We can't use any of the funds for debt service.
Exactly.
Any-
Funding pensions accounts, paying off outstanding debt, or making deposits to reserve accounts or rainy day funds.
What are there any lists of operating expenses that are on there? For instance, increases in insurance premiums. Would that qualify if we wanted to increase our insurance coverage in some areas?
No.
Okay.
It's also an eligible. There is a premium pay for employees. That is an eligible expense.
Okay.
But you would have to qualify based upon the fact that you would have to be physically present in the building during the pandemic.
Okay. That leads me to my third question. I don't want to monopolize here. Cut me off if you will, Mr. Chair. But last meeting we had lengthy discussions on an employee's tasks and duties and whether or not there were additional funds within the budget. So if you could rationalize legitimately that there was a need for additional, and then the pandemic caused a lot of problems. Certainly did in my office.
Oh, for sure.
I got about 1,000. I got a quick phone call. Yeah, I got a quick call. Yeah, I got a quick question. Yeah, okay. Everyone was panicking. So that added a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and some people had real problems, some people perceived, but I mean, it's just snowballed. So there's a backlog and things that didn't get done. So I can only imagine that's the case here. So we could allocate some of that money towards additional hours for people to play catch up, so to speak.
So it's only for the hours that were during that they had to for a pandemic, so not future hours. So essentially they're saying that you could even extend it to non-municipal employees, like those who work in the grocery stores. That the grocery stores were open, they had to work in order to make sure that people were getting their groceries. So they would be eligible for that premium pay. So if that employee was mandated to be physically present in the building during the pandemic to carry out something that they could not do remotely,
Yeah.
then they could be eligible, and it would be up to 13 per hour that is paid to so up to 13 per hour, and may not exceed 25,000 with respect to any single worker.
So it wouldn't necessarily be to recruit reduced hours or missed hours. It could be added on to the hours they already performed during
In
that
order to
period of
sh-
time. So
yes.
so you look back, how many hours did they work, and you could actually, would it be fair to say, give them a bump in pay or a bonus or a hazard pay or however you want to label it?
Almost like a hazard pay, I would say. I'd need to look into more of the details because it is a little bit more complicated how that breaks down. But yes, I would say that would be a fair assessment.
Okay, so you could reward people that were here and went above and beyond the call of duty, and you could
Agreed.
give them an extra, and that would be legitimate retroactively.
Agreed.
And then would that be paid in a lump sum? Do you know, or you not?
I don't know if it would be paid in a lump sum, but I would say since such amount may not exceed $25,000, maybe, I'm not too sure, but I'd have to look into more details for that.
So the board could look at who's deserving of that, and then maybe allocate some of that $2 million towards that.
Of course, I could actually put together more of that specific area of the statute together for you so you can see whether or not
Yeah.
they fit that criteria.
And I'm sure it's evolving, and I've gone through it, and what they put in print today, if there aren't final regulations on it, they're proposed and pending, and they're subject to modification, so you can't be quick to just say, oh, it says this.
Exactly. So I'll put together some information for you specifically on the premium pay so that you can see whether or not that fits.
All right, so in the water and sewer, I mean, we've had discussions on some neighborhoods have rusty water, so if that's the, is that potential $1 million project, is that one of those affected areas that has the rusty water or the?
I'd need to double check with
Do you know?
Colin on that. I know that it's all intertwined because King Street has a lot of pressure issues, and they are going to be doing some replacement on King Street for the future development that is being proposed around the 106 King area. So I think that this is just a complete fix of that particular line. But whether or not it's the one that's been causing issues, I would need to default to him and his expertise.
Yeah, I think that should be a point of discussion. I'm not here to tell the water department, how to lay pipe, but, certainly they want that problem resolved, so that should be at least at the discussion table on if you're going to get X amount of funds, are they going to do something to mitigate those concerns of the people?
No, I think that's great, and I would welcome the opportunity to work with Colin a little bit more closer to narrow down those actual projects that he would really like to see done and have the most impact with those funds.
Okay,
Why don't
thank
we
you.
Why don't we do that? Anybody else? Jason, questions for Rebecca? Kathy, questions for Rebecca?
Yes. So do you have any ballpark idea on, I know our businesses, some of them had to close completely for quite a bit of time, and then they were only able to open, especially the restaurant businesses, very limited business. I'm assuming they've lost a lot of money. I know that they did get some, perhaps, recovery money, but I'm very interested in if we can quantify somehow what we feel they lost, because I think that's a big part of our community is our small businesses, and I would like to see us do something for them. My second question is just that I know that, knowing that this money was coming forward, we pulled back a number of capital items off of our annual town meeting warrant. I know the fire truck was probably one of them. I'm not remembering off the top of my head the others, but I do know from speaking with Greg LeBrecq that there was something about replacement of asbestos tiles in a few classrooms, and we did not fund that this year because everything was so tight. And some of the reasons everything's so tight too is we had a huge overrun in our fire department because of this pandemic, because of the number of calls, and because of the need to do everything that we had to do. So my question is there any ability, small businesses, to quantify what we feel they've lost, ballpark it? And secondly, do we have any ability to help out the Bagnell School with the asbestos in those classrooms with this money?
So for the first, we don't have those figures available. I do know that, in talking to a couple of the businesses, they did initially ask to see whether or not there was any additional assistance the town was offering. They had mentioned that there was other relief monies that they were going to look and try and capitalize on. I've been working closely with the regional planning agency. They also had small grants for small businesses and have tried to collaborate regionally in order to try and make those resources available. So those are some ways that they took advantage of some other funding sources. As to what they lost, I'm not too sure. I know that the businesses that I speak to, and I can also reach out to them just because I do want to get to know them a little bit better, what it is that they lost and whether or not there is any additional support or resources that the town could offer them. So I can definitely try and see if I can get some of that information, if they'd be willing to share that with me.
And one last is, if I'm going to say this correctly, our committees in town that are like, I guess what, 501c, they're nonprofit committees, they weren't able to have their fundraising. They weren't able to do their plant days. The library, Friends of the Library could not do their book sales. VZ Park could barely not do anything but go sledding, and they don't charge for that. And can this money at all be used to help any of those organizations?
Yes, I believe it can. Based upon the economic recovery eligible category, it is a little bit more flexible, the way that it's written, and more broad. But if you can show that the pandemic directly affected your ability to operate, like hold events and like do those things, and you can show that in prior years, like pre-pandemic time, that those figures were different and how much they were different, you should be able to, based upon what I'm reading, advocate to use those funds for such. And in terms of the Bagnell School, that's the only thing I think is a little bit more challenging because it's more of a capital improvement project. It's not necessarily associated with the pandemic. I mean, the big thing is that it needs to be pandemic related. So like the fire truck, we couldn't just use the funds to buy a fire truck if we needed a fire truck. But because that fire truck has the basic life support
Function.
equipment that you would need to go to a call and be able to, provide respiratory help to an individual until an ambulance comes there, makes that vehicle a lot more crucial and instrumental in aiding, helping the fire department go to those calls and help those individuals, especially in a pandemic-like situation.
So would you expect us to try to reach out to these committees that have not been able to have the events they normally use to fund their group and find out what they weren't able to do? Is that something that we should collect for you?
You could definitely do that. I could also work with Catherine or draft something on your behalf with your approval and see if there's something that you'd like to put out there, because that's one of the reasons that we wanted to come to you and just put this in front of you so that you know that this is available. We are trying to give you options so that you can make the decision as best as you see fit. But there's more projects I know that are eligible out there, and I'd be happy to help you put together or solicit more of those projects for you.
So I'll ask my fellow board members, this will be very small amount of money. I mean, we're talking, the plant sales and the book sales, but it's devastating for these groups that do this every year, and this is how they survive, and now they have like zero. The garden club pays the heat and everything for the Little Red Schoolhouse out of that money. VZ Park wasn't able to do much of anything. So I think it'd be good to at least consider it. Put it on the let's consider it list at this point, if that's all right with everybody.
Yeah, sure, why not? Sounds like you've done your research and you've done a good job. Dan, you had something?
Yeah, just based on, what Kathy brought up. Could you, I mean, it doesn't have to be now, unless it's quick, I guess, but what funds could be spent on the Bagnell Elementary School? And here's what I'm thinking. And if, for instance, you could spend some of those funds on costs that are inevitable at the Bagnell, that may help them free up some additional funds so they could mitigate the asbestos issue. So if that's legitimate, and I don't want to circumvent the system here unless it's absolutely legal, but if there's a legal shift here, that, to me, it's pockets. Whether you take the money out of the right pocket or the left pocket, it's still a bill. So if we could help the Bagnell Elementary School with funding in any form,
Yes, I would be happy to speak
then
with
I would
Principal
like to
Day.
know what is the legitimate short list or long list on what we could use, and I don't know if we would have to coordinate with the school department on, maybe we get a credit for something. I don't know what's permitted. This is kind of pioneer country. This is new stuff, and it's probably non-recurring.
Yep.
So get it while you can.
No, definitely, and I would be happy to reach
But
out to Principal
I'd like
Day.
to help the Bagnell Elementary School with their asbestos, but let's just say you couldn't directly write the check for that purpose, but you could cut a check for X, 200 grand for Y. If that helps them free up the money, problem solved. You with me?
Yep, of course, because I'm sure like they needed
That's
air
all. I wanna be
purifiers and
creative here
stuff.
is what I'm
Well, they
saying.
needed air purifiers, right?
Yes,
Those
they
are
did.
items that they needed in order to address the pandemic. Those are costs that the school
Yeah,
had to pay.
yeah.
So I'm sure I can work with Principal Day and see exactly what it was that they had to pay.
Yeah, see what, be creative, but, Mr. Chair, I don't know that we, people listening, if they want to submit requests, I don't know what Little Red Schoolhouse would need, but certainly, it's not a bottomless, amount of money, a bottomless pit, but $2 million, I think we could,
I don't think they need 2
we
million.
could cut off a few pieces here and there, right? $2 million is a lot of money, I think.
I think the consensus of the board is that you gotta go ahead on that. I don't think we need to
Yeah.
take a vote on it. Anybody else got any comments? Seeing none, thank you for coming in. You certainly did your paperwork.
Yes, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Have a nice evening.
As always.
So
We got, next, just got two more to go. Waste management contract discussion.
I have information on that.
Yeah, go ahead. I think you asked to have this put on the agenda.
Yes, so I have a lot of information, actually, more than I ever thought I would have. So let me just consolidate real quickly. We have the proposed amendment. We have the existing contract. We should send these directly to our town attorney. But I think we also need to speak about the situation now, the place that Waste Management says they're going to get to when they redo the routes, and then the place where we'll get to when we implement the reduction in barrels in the bag program. Because we've got like an immediate issue, and I spoke to a a head person at Waste Management, first name of Jim, I forget the last name, I got this through one of our residents who actually took it upon herself and went right up the ladder there. And I met with her and spoke to her about what she was able to uncover. And so I have asked for a management plan. I have asked them to provide to us an immediate plan on what are you going to do about the problem right here and now before you get around to redoing the routes. They are still talking about redoing the routes, and the proposal will be to redistribute so that on Friday they'll put 2 trucks out and be able to manage a bigger load and lighten the load Monday through Thursday. But my point, again, is from now till then, we still have the existing problem of the routes are failing, and the contract says you're supposed to do the routes on these days. I did provide a PDF of all the routes to them. It's right on our website. I mean, it was really easy to do. I'm not quite sure why there was some confusion about why we couldn't get it. It's right there. I just downloaded it and put the PDF into one big thing. I think I copied you on it, Ed, right? I sent you the PDF as well on the streets on each and every day. So that's right on our website, Monday through Friday. I also am now a person who didn't have their trash picked up. So I decided to avail myself of the 800 number to see what happens. And actually, it went much more smoothly than anticipated. I waited for about 5 or 10 minutes. I did receive a very helpful young woman who knew nothing that we didn't have the service as, that she did not know these roads hadn't been covered. It was not just my road, it was your road, Lower Washington, Abbott, there was a bunch. And so she gave me a ticket number, and at 11:25 today, the trash was being picked up. So that part, I guess, works somewhat well. But then in discussing with this Jim, who's senior management, he pointed out the city of Lowell puts on their town website, if there is any failure in the system, if a truck breaks, they immediately post on their town website what roads are impacted and what what's the remedy, so that people know right away. Oh, the truck broke. They're trying to get a new truck out. Leave your trash out. Or the truck broke at 5. It's going to pick up tomorrow morning. He asked if we would be able to do anything like that going forward. Because I asked, why can't we go online? I tried to go online to their WM.com website. I logged in, I registered, and then when I tried to get information on why my street hadn't been picked up, it said, cannot find an account for that address. So we're not eligible for the mobile app, evidently. So the next best thing would be, if we want to, go forward. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make roundabout is we need to send the documents to town council. Would you like me to draft a cover letter that encapsulates all of this, give it to you, Ed, for approval, and that can go with it, to tell them where we are now with the problems, what Waste Management has said they're going to do, and what will happen at the end of that. Because as I said to the gentleman right now that I spoke with, very nice man, but you're not fulfilling the contract. So our town council needs to advise us on that. Yeah.
Jason, any comments?
No.
Dan?
Well, I guess it's evolving, right? I mean,
But
is it?
Do you want me to draft like a short one, I'll keep it to 1 page, it says, here's what, I mean, the problems are well-known.
Well, I think we addressed the grievances, and then it's a kind of a send, the ball's on your side of the court. What do you propose to do about it? I mean, let them cure.
Well, we would need to send us the amendment that they are giving us to town attorney with the existing contract. Do you want a cover letter that explains where we are right now?
Well,
Or do you want to have a meeting with town
I
council?
think they're two different issues. I mean, the amendment is what it is, but then the grievances are, I mean, you got to fulfill the contract and perform, and right now it seems like things aren't being done.
Right, so we might want to change some of the amendment, is what my point is. Do we want to put a cover letter together to go to council to say,
I'm not opposed to it. I mean,
Okay. I didn't want to just do it, I just
if
thought I would wait
the
to hear.
content would be limited to what? Just what we,
It'd be limited to, we want to have a management plan for the now, for the right now. How are they going to manage to not leave trash every day somewhere.
And have people frazzled like what 1-800 number, get the answering machine I have to call.
I did all right with it.
You got through?
Yeah, I did. That's why I said I was given a ticket number. I waited about 5 to 10 minutes. I will say it's not the easiest thing because you have to go through a series of auto things, and you click this button if that. So some people maybe hit the wrong button and got sent in the wrong.
What was the resolve in your case? Did they say we'll send a truck out tomorrow or in the next 2 days,
young
leave your
lady I
trash
spoke
outside
to,
until we do?
Did not realize that there had been any problem. This was today I called. Our trash was supposed to be picked up Monday. She had no idea that, and I said, it's not just my street, it's Lower Washington, it's all the side streets off of Washington. So it's a significant number of streets. She gave me a ticket number, and at 11:30 today, the trash was picked up at my road, and I saw that they've cleaned up the rest of the street there.
And you called when? What point in time?
I called this morning, I want to say at about, oh, I'd have to check my phone, between 9 and 10 a.m. because I was doing a work seminar.
So you got
after
same
that.
day pickup. That's pretty good.
So, yeah, but to get through, you have to go through, the series of auto things where
Yeah,
they
you
tell
got to
you.
jump through hoops.
You had to jump through a couple of hoops. Yeah.
I spoke to the driver today, and I said, what happened? The truck break down? He says, yeah. He said, broke down for over 3 hours. He says, and it took him about 15 minutes to repair it. And he said he had the double route today because he couldn't get it done yesterday.
He was moving. He was
was
working
moving.
very
He
hard.
was moving today.
All right, so they're trying. It's not like
They are trying.
you get the, like the IRS, you wait for 45 minutes, it says, due to call volume, call back tomorrow.
No, I got through this time. The senior management person said that they would be meeting on our town. We could have him in if you'd like.
How does this affect the start date on this contract of July 1st, which is Thursday?
We have a memorandum of understanding. I mean, everything right now is going to stay the way it is as far as what streets are on. Nothing's changing. So that is a bit of a problem because obviously there's a problem with the loading up of the truck on some days. So I asked the senior management if they could give to us some patch. Can you put an extra truck on Wednesdays? Whatever day is heaviest, just do something. Temporarily reassign resources because they're not going to be prepared to redo the routes for, I was told, 4 to 6 weeks. It takes them that long to redo it, notify everybody, get it all out there.
And there was a delay at the plant. The man I talked to said it took him around an hour to get unloaded because there was a backup at the plant. So there's a lot of variables. They're working on it. This is a new guy that's on the route, and he was
He is new.
he was working all by himself. But according to this, we need to talk about the price for the bags, which this email that came, if the town would like an October 1st start date to overflow trash bag, we need to have a pricing agreement signed by July 1st. So
She said July 1st? So then we could push that off to November 1st then. Those are all movable dates.
okay.
So since we're not ready to do that today, November 1st,
Dan,
give us
comment?
another month.
Does that $2 all go to waste management, or does the town get any of the money to defray the cost of the contract? And if we just have a memorandum of understanding, I mean, feedback I'm getting is the reduction from 4 to 2 is a big leap. Is there any way at this point to say, hey, listen, guys, I mean, you kind of like, I think we lost some leverage in the 4 to 2, and would they meet us halfway at 3? And would
We
they
can-
give some ground on the 3? I'm not happy
Okay.
about the reduction to half. Can I live with 3? I could live with 3 as a compromise solution, but I feel like it's like, here, take it or leave it.
Okay,
So is that memorandum set in stone, or we can still negotiate?
we could still negotiate.
Well-
The reduction 4 to 3, 4 to 2 is ours, but the bag is totally separate from waste management. They get nothing. This is between us and, what are they called, Waste Zero or something?
Yes.
Chairman?
Waste Zero.
Right,
bag.
so basically, the idea is that Waste Management presented the connection to this person, so that what the deal would be is Waste Management will pick up every bag that's put out there that you've paid for, no matter what. They won't limit you on the bags. We can adjust between 2 and 4 barrels if we wish, but the bag program is where we need to pay the people that provide us with it, and then we're allowed to add a little bit if we want to start to generate a little internal revenue ourselves towards our trash management.
Go ahead.
What would prohibit us, or what would be the downfall of us saying the bags are free, for instance, or the 25 cents each to help the citizens here? If Waste Management isn't going to charge us any more to pick up the bags, as say my 2 barrels in front of my house,
We need to pay this company for the bags.
and just a matter, and they're charging $2.
I believe so. Is that what it is?
I mean, what's the cost of the bag?
Has she given us?
Retail pricing, what will the cost of the consumer be for a bag? The town should want to cover the cost of the bag as well as the cost of disposal of each bag. I recommend the cost be between $2.50 and $3
So
per
it's
bag.
flexible. So we need to ask her, what do we pay her? That's not.
Yeah, what is our
Yeah.
cost?
Okay, so
And then
we
we
could-
go from there.
Well, we got a month if we're going to move
350.
out that start date to November 1st.
Right.
We got a month to
Yeah,
talk about that.
But can we wiggle and say, give us the 3 as a middle ground, and then we'll agree
She
to
has
X on
nothing
the,
to do with the 3.
on the
That's
bags?
Waste Management. We
But it
can-
doesn't say what we're going,
It doesn't say.
it doesn't say what it cost us. I think we need that
Purchase.
cost.
And do those bags, I mean, are they gonna be loose? Because, I mean, years ago, I remember you just put your plastic bag on the sidewalk, and the dogs and the cats and the raccoons and the skunks will rip it to pieces. So, I mean, is there gonna be a requirement that it's put inside a barrel and encapsulated? How does that even work
I don't think
logistically?
I
How
don't
does it
think it
work?
has to be in a barrel. I think it just,
No, I put out a bag.
Yeah?
he does, yeah. Well, we
I
have
haven't
a
done it in
leash.
years. I mean,
My old dog used
Well,
to
your-
get in everybody's
Your
trash.
wife says she puts the trash.
she
Going
does
up
put the trash out.
the
Just
dog.
don't even go there.
They do come in fun colors, too.
Okay, so we got a month to decide how,
Yes.
unless we push it out further. Any further discussions on that? No comments. I think we can table this, water and sewer union contract negotiations, waiting for a counter proposal. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Motion to table, somebody want to make a motion to table the water and sewer union contract negotiations?
Make a motion to table water and sewer contract negotiations.
Motion by Jason, is there a second on that?
Second?
And a second. All in favor? Unanimous. Correspondence, we don't have any. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Selectmen will be Tuesday, June 29th, 2021, because of the holiday on Monday. A motion to adjourn, and I would suggest that we don't have a time yet. I would suggest that the members email Catherine and see what, let her know what time everybody is available on Tuesday. And,
I thought we were at 6 o'clock, more or less now.
all right, if you want 6 o'clock, we'll go 6
I
o'clock.
thought that's where we were
Uh,
for a while, because I thought that.
Okay, so the meeting of the Board of Selectmen will be on Tuesday, June 29th,
No, no,
2021 at 6
Tuesday,
PM.
July 6th.
Oh, yeah, it does say June 20, yes.
What day is today?
Jason, he
The
looks,
June 29th is
today.
Now.
today. July,
Go ahead, just throw something, Catherine.
Mr. Chair, I'm taking the week off.
okay, so you're not available for the meeting.
Yeah, so I asked the board as a courtesy not to, increase taxes in town and spend too much money.
We might,
Thank you.
we might, I don't
Could
know.
extend the courtesy on that.
Let me just see.
Okay.
Catch up with you later.
Okay, I'm
Okay, motion
away,
to adjourn?
yep, I'm just gonna say, I'm away the week of July 26th, but that shouldn't affect our meeting, as far as I can tell. The 20th, the 2019th, rather. July 9th. Yep, so I'll be there for that. Okay, very good. Motion to adjourn at 5:47.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion on adjournment? None. All in favor of adjournment? Unanimous. Thank you for everybody. Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
For coming in.